Hey guys, welcome back to day 3 of Mod Madness. Today we're going to be installing the Pedders Coilovers on my ProCharged 2016 Mustang. Beyond the coilovers, we're also going to do camber plates and a neat little trick to make them adjustable. We're also going to install ARP wheel studs to fit our 1-inch wheel spacers to go with our 18x11 front apex wheels. On top of those wheels, we're going to be running Toyo Proxy's R888 tires, and that's going to be a lot of tire to fit inside the front wheel well. So this is kind of where our tricks and dialing in the camber will come into play. So check it out, guys. We've got all our goodies. We've got our sway bars. I forgot to mention that we will be doing sway bars. We've got sway bar bushings up there. We've got new Pedders coilovers for the front. We've got ARP wheel studs. And we've got a whole kit from Ford parts, just regular Ford parts, of all the one-time use things that we're going to be taking off the car. It is important to replace torque to yield bolts whenever you take them off, rather than just reusing the old bolt, as they stretch whenever they're installed and will no longer be safe for your application. So guys, back here we have the new shocks along with the new springs, camber plates that'll go up front, nuts to go along with our front coilovers to hold them, new end links, and the adjustment tools to adjust the height of our ride. One thing that's important to note is that we will be messing with the preload, because we will be putting on those camber plates and they go on top of that. So this part will be removed and the new camber plate will go on top of that. If you've been following along with the last 2 videos, you know that we've already removed the wheel liner, we've done our work on the splitter and the tow hook, and now we're kind of back to a state where the wheel liner is off and the wheel is off the car. So guys, what we're gonna do at this point is we're gonna remove the caliper, we're gonna remove the rotor, we're going to unhook the sway bar, we're going to knock out these wheel studs, we're going to put the new ARP ones in, we're going to unhook the snuckle and drop it down completely. Our first step is going to be to loosen these. We're going to go ahead and pop these 2 rear ones off. So this last little guy here, we're only going to pick up a little bit to let the strut kind of dangle when we disconnect it from the knuckle. That ought to be good. We can then very easily kind of take it off either with the ratchet or by hand. Now I'm going to pick the car up a little bit and get it into a more comfortable position. So now our next step is to remove the 2 bolts behind this caliper here. So the bolt we want to get to is back here, and another one is back here. It's just 2, and they're 15s. So guys, I'm going to use this 15 on a swivel attachment to break this stuff loose. So as you guys can see, the caliper is neatly perched back there. You can use some wire to tie it down, or zip ties, or hanger, or whatever you like to use. Oh yeah, this thing's not gonna come off on its own. Let's get a few really good smacks, and then if it doesn't come off, we'll heat it. Yeah, that puppy's not going anywhere. We're gonna have to put a little heat into it. This can take a few minutes. All right, let's see if we got anywhere. I didn't hear any pinging. Oh. It did work, it just didn't ping. Sometimes when they're baked on really well, there's this very satisfying tink, like pinging, kind of super nice, very satisfying sound. So guys, now we've got the exposed hub, and I think we should knock these little guys out. Now these are not being reused, so I'm gonna just knock on them with steel hammer. There is an ABS sensor right back here. Don't swing at it like over here, swing around here. guys, now it's time to get these new ARP studs into the hub over here. I'm gonna heat up the opening in the hub so that it's a little looser, and then we're gonna put this in kind of like right where it's touching that and maybe see if we could squeeze it in a little bit. And then what I'm gonna use is an old lug nut to kind of drive it in, and I'm gonna go real slow with the impact because I don't wanna mar and completely like screw up the hub surface. So I'm hoping the heat helps with that. Give it a couple of minutes. So guys, we're gonna use the lug nut and we're gonna go real slow to pull that in. So here you go, guys, one installed ARP stud, no problem. So now I'm gonna do the rest, and then I'll show you guys how to take the knuckle apart, get the sway bar off, and drop that strut. Looking really good. Didn't have too much trouble. These are gonna really let us run some big boy wheels on this car. I couldn't be more excited. So guys, let's do the sway bars now. So guys, here's the setup. We've got an 18 socket and a 17 wrench. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our impact. There we go. All right guys, now that we got that top one, we've got this bottom one right over here. So guys, sometimes you gotta use a ratchet, and an impact is just not gonna get in here, at least not any impact I own. But it's okay, it's a real easy. So now we need to do one little thing before we can start dropping anything, and that's undo the ABS sensor from our strut assembly. There we go. See, now that's disconnected. And the ABS sensor itself is this little guy here. Now that everything's ready, we've disconnected this stuff, we've tucked the caliper away, we've replaced the studs, we've loosened the strut, we've undone the sway bar, we still have the sway bar bushing to remove, and we've cleared this ABS line. So now what we should do is remove these two guys. So I would personally use an impact for sure. Makes it so much easier. So you guys, if you've ever seen other coilover installs on this car, you want to kind of keep these threaded on. Now I have new hardware for these, so I'm going to pound on these with whatever the hell I want to, which is probably going to be a metal hammer. You may not have replacement parts, so you may need to use something rubber or be careful, but basically this bolt is splined. You can't like just turn it out. You have to bang it out this way. It's kind of like these splined studs. It's the same exact thing. So I'm going to use a metal hammer to beat the crap out of these. So I'll show you guys from this angle. See how this thing's splined? It's got the vertical lines. I personally always like to use new hardware where I can. It's not that expensive, and it feels really good to put new hardware in instead of a bolt and nut that maybe you've replaced several times. And furthermore, some of the stuff you do have to replace because it's torque to yield. The bottom one should come out easier because we've already kind of started freeing things up. All right, so with that undone, the knuckle can drop. Boom. There's your knuckle, there's your ABS sensor line. So guys, I'm gonna go up here with our trusty 15 mil, and I'm gonna catch the strut down here. You wanna make sure you don't screw up the ABS line. So guys, the sway bar that's still in there has some bushing bolts that are holding it in place. We're gonna go from up top and try to hit those. Hopefully I can get around the supercharger. So you guys see that little bolt right there? That's one of the bolts holding the bushing for the sway bar on the side. So guys, this little cover here, I think it's to protect the alternator from splash, which I don't really get because like there's already a splash guard here, but maybe it doesn't like cover that hole. Either way, it's probably something really a street car needs more. I'll figure out later how to remove it. For now, I just kind of shoved it back with a screwdriver. You know, you want to watch out for this brake line here. And yeah, it wasn't too bad. So now I'm just going to loosen it. There we go. I think it's out, guys. I can now pull the sway bar out, but man, I got no clue what all it's going to clip on. You definitely want to make sure you have enough clearance wherever you're taking this out, and just kind of remember how it went. That design just, whew, good job, Ford. Here's the old bar, and the reason this damn thing is so difficult is these don't go anywhere. So you're snaking through the entire car. So here's the little trick that I was gonna show everyone. The camber plates will be under here, and they're not really accessible for adjustment through this hole. It means you'd have to drop the strut every time you wanted to adjust them. So what I'm gonna do with this grinder is try to take the top off and kind of expose the entire camber plate. So guys, as you can see, I finally managed to cut the hole, and now I'm going to use my trusty grinding wheel to kind of smooth out the surface. Now I think we're going to hit this thing with a flap wheel, and then I'm going to throw some paint on it. So now that I've done all that cutting, I think it's time to put the sway bar back in here. Now, I'm told that we can install the bushings after the sway bar's popped inside. So the goal is to sort of carefully try to thread this thing. That is how you get the sway bar through, guys. It really is a lot easier than taking it out. So guys, you should get a little packet of grease. Just go ahead and cut it open. Then slide this out. And in here, there's a bore. Just apply the grease to the bore. So you want to use about half because you have 2 bushings. If you forget to do this part, your sway bars will probably squeak. And you may have to, at some point, do this again. There's a cut there that lets you do that. Now you take this thing, maybe push it in more. So there you go, guys. Now I'm going to thread 1 bolt in, and I'm going to do the other side, and from the top, we'll lower the car a little. I'm going to do the front bolts. But before we tighten those down, we want a little bit of flexibility in the bar. And we're gonna actually get the new strut in here and attach the sway bar end link. So guys, you're gonna wanna just reach in there and kind of thread this bolt in if you can. There's not a whole lot of space for your hand. Once you hand thread it, what I would do is just use your extension in the socket and then make sure that you're not cross-threaded. So basically I hand threaded this bolt in and now I just have a socket on it. I'm not gonna use an impact. I'm not driving it all the way down. I'm only kind of setting it in place so that we can get the sway bar end link set up, and then later we will snug down the bolt here. Now that we've drilled everything and we're ready to install these new coilovers, we need to get rid of this plate and install our camber plate. Step one is going to be to remove this adjustment knob. It's barely hanging on by a thread, like you literally just touch it. And that's how they tell you to install it too, like barely touch it. Now we're going to use I think a 22 here to blast that off. All right, so we're gonna pull that off, set this down. So in the back here, there's actually a bearing. You're gonna wanna not have it spill everywhere when you pull it out. What we need to do next is loosen these and pull these back. And the reason is the new camber plate is going to create a lot of preload otherwise when we do the install. So we're going to have to reset the preload. You can just back that all the way down. It'll be a little easier if I do that. I just want to give it lots of room. This goes down this way. Oh, this goes on here. This goes over here, like that. This drops in. So first we're going to install this new spring perch. And that just kind of goes there. And as you can see, the spring will rest against it. This spacer into the back here. Then we're going to pop that over into the bearing. You see there's a bearing there. And then we're gonna screw this in. And we can use a 19 socket to give it a little love, but not too much. Oops. A little more. Stick this thing back in. So I'm going to set it on 25 clicks. That's what I have for the other one. Now we need to set the preload because you see the spring is going to be really, really loose. So to set the preload, we flip this bad boy around. So basically, initially, the way I like to set preload, this is how I've always done it. I didn't get any instructions with these coilovers, so I've looked at some stuff online, and I mean, this is just like every other coilover I've installed, so I'm not particularly concerned that I'm doing it wrong. But anyhow, so what I like to do is I like to snug everything up, and once it's tight by hand, like that's tight by hand. So there we go. So that's going to be our initial preload. We're going to ride this up. I have about 2 3/4 millimeters measured out right here. And once that gap is there, we know we've got about 2 3/4 millimeters of preload. So now we simply use this wrench, hold on to the bottom jam nut, and we create about 2 3/4 millimeter of preload. See, it's not quite there yet. I like to use feeler gauges, and some people say that this thing is about 3, which is true. So some people just say, well, once that fits, you're at 3. All right, that's what I need right there. All right. Now we want to tighten it. Oh, wrong wrenches. So anyhow, you do the bottom one, you try to keep the top one kind of still. And then you squeeze them both together. So whenever you want to raise or lower your car, you will never do it up here. That's why we just tighten that so good. You will always just loosen this, and the threaded collar will go in and out. You will never, ever do it through here, because this is your preload. Once it's set, it's set. 7 1/4. 7 1/4. I am scary accurate. These shocks are now completely identical in size, so we'll see what that yields in ride height. All right, so I'm ready to install this coilover into my strut tower here. One important factor is where this little L is. This is the left side of the car, so we want this pointing. All right, guys, so I'm gonna shove the coilover in there with this L facing towards me, and I'm gonna look for the holes. This is a lot easier if you got a second person, but I don't. All right, we're gonna leave these a little bit loose, just kind of hand tight. We will add torque to these later when we finish the rest of the setup. It's kind of important to leave certain things loose, kind of like we did with the stabilizer bar. So now we need to, this by the way will rotate around, so don't like freak out and think that you didn't attach this correctly. All right, so just need to go. All right, so the torque rating on this is 184 pounds. There we go. Whew, now we got to do that bottom one. These bad boys will be a little bit of a workout. Whew, I was so close by hand. What I want to do is get the one end link into the middle of the sway bar. That's kind of where we'll start. Probably just middle all around and see how that feels. Remember that ABS line? Let's go ahead and reconnect it. There's a factory style connection point right on this very nifty assembly. I'm gonna go ahead and thread it in on the other side too. Okay, so I've got the other side snugged up and ready to go. Now we're gonna snug this side up, and then we're gonna snug those bolts up, and our sway bar will be set. We're really getting close on the front here, guys. So here's the annoying part, guys. You can't really get a ratchet in there unless you have a really slim ratchet, and it's a fairly large size. You'd need a 3/4, like really slim one, and I just don't have anything that slim. It's not optimal, but it will work. All right, I mangled it a little. I'll have to get some thinner ratchets, but this here is going to be the easy one, I think, as long as there's clearance. Yeah, there's clearance. All right, now we just need to snug that little guy up over here. should be good. All right, sway bar is in. Before doing the brakes, let's go ahead and torque our strut down. I've got this thing set to 45 pounds-feet, and that should be about good for this assembly. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and do it on the other side. Now that the strut is fully torqued, let's throw the rotor on and the caliper and torque that down. I marked, I don't know if you could see up here, the original index that the factory came with. And I'm thinking I put a lug nut on, maybe 2 lug nuts, and then we run a run-out test and see how good the factory indexing was. So what I'm going to do is thread on some of these open lugs that I have that I don't really use. They're just something I happen to have. All right, so we can watch how much run out we're getting. There's quite a bit of run out. The idea is to have as little run out as possible. Basically, none of these surfaces are perfect. I think the first thing we're going to try is just moving it one position. Would you look at that? There's literally no run out. All right, I say let's throw our brake calipers on. All right, I'm putting the new bolt into the caliper and trying to line it up with the knuckle. I think I got it. Nope. Maybe the bottom one will be easier. All right. Got the bottom one lined up, so the top one should now be easy. There we go. All right, we're going to torque to 85 pounds. That's one. It's weird having this thing back on. It's like bizarre having it back on. I feel like I've been taking this thing on and off so many times lately. Now we want to move on to the back of the car. We're going to remove this bolt, then these, then go from the bottom, then we're going to pop the sway bar off, and then we're going to drop the subframe to get at the spring and spring perch. All right, job one is this 13 mil. That gives us some of the clearance we're going to need. Now let's use an 18 up here to knock this out. Now these bad boys need to go too, but they're actually, I think, 15s. So as you guys can tell, I already removed my G-track brace, and the reason is it was going to get in the way with dropping the subframe. So I would just loosen these at first, or just take them out like I did. All right, so the reason I said loosen and then failed to do so is that it's gonna wanna fall on your head. So reach up there and hold it. Use your other hand. And take that bad boy out. So you want to go ahead and remove the end link by using an 18 mil and an Allen key. Just pop them off on both sides. Really easy. Now, of course, this is for doing our sway bar setup. All right, so we got some 13 mil bolts up here. We're gonna want to get them up here too. All right, let's see if we can get a socket on this. There we go. Installing the new sway bar is pretty easy. You just kind of snake it through where the exhaust is. All right, so we're gonna take our bushing, which we've lubricated just like last time. You're gonna take this bushing, you're gonna grease it up and split it like I'm doing, and kind of force it over the bar. Then you're gonna take these original collars and fit them over. I wonder how strong these are. They might need gussets at some point. Then we fit the one over here. Now you're gonna want to thread in these original factory bolts. And I'm gonna suggest lining both of them up on both sides before tightening anything down. As you can see, I've supported the subframe with this jack, and now we're gonna disconnect these two 13 millimeter bolts. Now we're gonna loosen this bolt. It's a 21 millimeter. And now we're gonna get that bolt up there as well. So when you install the spring, this goes at the top, and this bottom part needs to be matched up to the design in the bucket that the spring goes into. So as you turn it, there's like a thud where it completely matches the correct spot that it needs to be in. After which you can kind of install this. And then we're simply gonna jack the subframe back up. Boom. There we go. Now we're gonna fish this through. Make sure that's real good. Now we're gonna thread these guys in. We will torque those a little later. So now we need to remove this nut and take off this assembly. So that will be a 15, and you should be able to just kind of spin this off. There we go. We can set this guy aside. So then we take this new shock, we take the nut off, and place this on. So we're going to throw the mount on the new shock and kind of thread this on carefully. So we're going to use this vice grip to grab onto this washer, and then we're going to torque this to about 15, 16 foot-pounds. Slowly crank this thing on. Carefully place the shock kind of back to where it's supposed to be. And we're going to thread this thing in. Again, I like to leave things a little loose in the beginning. So to get the bottom of the shock assembled, we're going to have to use these aftermarket nuts because the Pedders Coilover shock does not have nuts welded onto the opening. We're going to torque this to 41 foot-pounds. We're going to torque these big guys to 129 foot-pounds. So I'm going to be jacking the wheel up and pulling the shock in. Now we're going to thread on the old bolts and the new nuts. So these need to be torqued to 35 foot-pounds. So these are going to be torqued to 66 foot-pounds. So minus the sway bar, this is it for this side. I'm going to go do the other side. You should do the same, and then we'll come back and tighten up the sway bar. So I've installed the stabilizer bar end links, and I've got everything torqued down. What I did is I used the new bracket for the brake line that came with the Pedders kit, and I mounted it with these little nut and bolt combo. Basically, you'll need 2 wrenches to attach it. It goes on top of the sway bar. That's how you get it to mount neatly up here, and there's a little L shape down here that needs to fit around the sway bar. Underneath the car, you will want to torque down the stabilizer bar bushings to 52 foot-pounds. I'm kind of digging how this looks. There's a really good, like, racy rake. This is kind of cool. I'm a little, like, taken aback by it. Wow, this thing looks pretty sinister right now. I kind of like it. Well, one piece of good news is that the lift does clear, and I don't need to really like get ramps to pick it up on the lift. I was worried it was going to be too low. Man, if you kick the steering out a little, that is so much front tire. Man, those 1-inch spacers pretty much nailed the tire offset. They're kind of about the same front and back. Man, I think from the back, this thing has just got this nice kind of slightly raked, but very cool look. There's something I really like about it, but let me know what you guys think. I'm really digging it, guys. Let me know what you think, if I should adjust anything. Definitely open to advice. For now, I'm gonna end this video, and then we're gonna pick it up again, where we're gonna level this car out. We're gonna figure out exactly, what's still off, what's gonna rub, what's gonna be wrong, and then we're gonna take it to a shop to get it aligned, and we'll start tearing around in it.